Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my top 5 defenses to stream for week number 9 of the 2024 fantasy football season, as well as breaking down 2 honorable mention defenses for the week. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do have been enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my top five defenses to stream for week number 9 of the 2024 fantasy football season, plus 2 honorable mention defenses. We begin with my number 1 defense to stream on the week, the New Orleans Saints at the Carolina Panthers. The Saints defense is currently rostered in 33% of leagues on Yahoo, 31% on NFL, and 38.5% on ESPN. Now, early on in the season, when Bryce Young was starting, a staple of the defense to stream videos was streaming defenses up against Bryce Young, because Bryce Young, to start off the season prior to when they pulled the plug and put in the red rifle Andy Dalton, that offense was anemic. They could not move the ball at all by throwing. They basically had to have Chuba Hubbard do everything if they wanted to move the ball. Now, Bryce Young last week up against the Broncos, he looked slightly better. He didn't look like a steaming pile of dog shit, but honestly, it's not hard to look better than what we saw early on in the season. Up against a stout Denver Broncos defense, I will give the Denver Broncos defense a lot of credit because they are, in my opinion, one of the best defensive units in the NFL. They won that game up against the Carolina Panthers. Louis belt to ass, winning 28-14, 2 sacks, 2 INTs, and 14 points allowed. I understand that comparing the Saints defense to the Denver defense is apples to oranges. The Denver defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL, and the New Orleans Saints defense simply is not even close to that, but the defense is solid. Now, they did get smacked by Justin Herbert, the pervert, and the Chargers last week in LA. They lose 8-26, but the defense had 3 sacks, 1 safety, 26 points allowed, as well as a tackle where they tried to do some type of crazy spin move on Justin Herbert's leg, which I thought was a very, very dirty play. But going up against the Panthers offense compared to the Chargers offense really is night and day. I get the Chargers don't have the most fun offense, right? No one's sitting down on Sunday unless you're a Chargers fan and is thinking, wow, I am so ecstatic. I'm bricked up, sitting here on my couch, reclining, getting ready to watch the offense of the Chargers. But their offense is definitely way better than the Panthers, and Bryce Young makes a whole lot of mistakes because Buddy's so short he can't even see over the offensive line. So the Saints defense, again, well, I'm not going to sit here and give them the gawk 9,000 special and pretend they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. Most defenses will have great success up against the Carolina Panthers. The Saints do play the Falcons next week in week 10, so I would be running at the speed of Jackson Storm in Cars 3 away from the Saints defense this week, running like Forrest Gump. I just keep running. So make sure you go ahead and sit them in week 10. Next up, we move to the left hands up. Who are we? The Commanders at the New York Football Giants in MetLife. 12% rostered for the Commanders, 11.4% on NFL, and 19.7% on ESPN. Now, the Commanders versus the Bears was one of the most boring games of the week by far. I think a lot of us expected the Bears offense to actually show up, and they completely shriveled up. They were irrelevant in that game. Now, I will give the Commanders defense some credit because we do love to bury the Commanders defense and talk about how bad they are, but ultimately the Commanders defense has played better as of recently. They're still not one of the best offense, or they do have one of the better offenses in my opinion, but they definitely don't have one of the best defenses, but the defense is a lot more competent than it was a couple of weeks ago. So the Commanders up against the Bears again. While that game was atrocious, the Commanders somehow pull a rabbit out the hat and win 18-15 on one of the craziest Hail Marys of all time. The bounce off of the defender who was taunting the fans, and then it just goes directly into Noah Brown's hands. I mean, that is a comic book ending, a storybook ending, a movie ending of sorts, because the fact that the guy was basically hitting the gritty on the grave of the Commanders on the Bears, and then the guy runs over to the play after not paying attention for the first like 1/4 or half of the play, and then it goes off his hand, goes into the sky, and Noah Brown's just standing there butt booty naked wide open to catch the ball. It was an insane finish. The Commanders defense, though, did look good up against Caleb. Caleb really had nothing going in that game. 2 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 15 points allowed. Now, the Giants play tonight on Monday Night Football, so we're going to have to go back to week number 7 to see their opponent's defensive stats. Week 7, they go up against division rival the Eagles. The Eagles win 28-3 in the Saquon Barkley revenge game in MetLife. 8 sacks, 3 points allowed. It is very simple when streaming defense is up against the Giants. I don't think that Daniel Jones is so bad that he is completely incompetent. I think one day he will make a great backup quarterback, and not really a great backup quarterback, but he can hold his starting quarterback's clipboard, right? Perfectly, okay? So the offensive line is really the biggest issue in New York. So even if Daniel Jones, if you had an ounce of confidence in Daniel Jones, the offensive line completely diminishes that. And I think that Daniel Jones is going to get lit up like a Christmas tree in this game by the Commanders. Again, the Eagles got them 8 times, and the Eagles defense isn't even all that great. After the Commanders do play the Giants this week, they play Pittsburgh at home in Washington. If the Steelers' offense falls apart tonight, then you could play the Commanders in week 10, but more than likely, I'd probably just be more interested in staying away. Next up, we got defense number 3 in the Halloween matchup, a spooky matchup between the Houston Texans and a Jets team that is dead. So I guess that's what really makes them spooky in MetLife. 57% rostered on Yahoo, 28.3% on NFL, 48.2% on ESPN. After this game, they're going to turn MetLife into a big spirit Halloween because the Jets and the Giants are finished. The Houston Texans are going to put the final nail into the coffin because this Jets team is frauds. Capital Fraud. You can fire everyone. You can do all of that. But ultimately, nothing is saving this sorry franchise. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Honestly, I think if they kept Robert Saleh, they might have won more games. This is a disaster of large magnitude. The Texans defense, week 8 up against the Colts, 23-20. I have no idea how that game was even close because realistically, Anthony Richardson looked like he was seeing ghost Sam Darnold style. He looked terrible. He even tagged out of the game at one point because he was out of breath, which is very shocking for a quarterback to do. 5 sacks, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, 20 points allowed. And the Texans defense has had 3 straight games with 3 or more sacks, 1 or more interceptions, and 1 or more fumble recoveries. So this is a Texans defense that has been getting hot, right? Early on in the season, the Texans defense did a complete 180 because a lot of us really liked the Texans defense last year, and they came out the gate incredibly slow. They did not look like the Texans defense that we thought they would look like, especially under a head coach that is defensive-minded, that is a defensive guru. So the fact that the defense didn't look good early on was definitely making me worried because I honestly thought the Texans were a very competitive team. I thought they could potentially make the Super Bowl, and early on in the season, the defense really was kind of soft to ply, right? But now they look way better, and this is a Jets offense that really just has nothing going for them. Instead of handing the ball to Breece Hall, who's averaging like 5 a carry, they're giving it to Braylon Allen, who's barely getting like 2.5. I think he was averaging like 2.1 in that game against the Patriots. And this Patriots defense isn't the Patriots defense that we thought they would be. They're like the Texans, right? Early on in the season, they're a big letdown. They've just been a letdown all year long, even with Gerard Mayo. But still, the Patriots, they win 25-22. With Draco May early, and then he gets hurt, and they have to put in Jacoby Brissett. And the Jets offense still couldn't win the game. 1 sack, 22 points allowed. The Texans are playing the Lions next week, so the Kembe, no, you're not going to be playing the Texans there. And honestly, while the Jets offense is bad, that defense is overrated. I saw someone on Twitter say this, and I'm just going to straight up steal it. They said that Sauce Gardner has been so bad this year that he doesn't even deserve the nickname Sauce anymore. His name is just going to be Ahmad, which is his real name. So the Houston Texans, they're going to put the final nail in the coffin of the Jets on Thursday Night Football. I know the Jets need this win, but I said that last week up against the Patriots. I said they need to win this game, and they didn't. And I know there's going to be people in the comments, Nick, you're a Dolphins fan. The Dolphins suck, blah, blah, blah. You can't make fun of the Jets. I get it. I guess kind of, me dancing on them is kind of rude because the Dolphins also suck. But the Dolphins lost Tua for 4 games, and in my opinion, they would have at least won one of those games, and the Dolphins have a better record than the Jets, so the Jets can go fuck themselves. So Houston Texans up against the Jets. Aaron Rodgers talking about darkness retreats after the game. This team is finished. At number 4, we got the Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. Now, we just talked about how the Patriots defense has not lived up to expectations, right? And you can clearly tell that by the rostership percentages, right? On Yahoo, 5%, 3.5% on NFL, 4% on ESPN. No one wants to play the Patriots defense, and rightfully so. The Patriots defense isn't all that great. They just traded Uche to the Kansas City Chiefs so that the Kansas City Chiefs can take a jumbo shit on everyone and win the Super Bowl yet again. How fun is that, right, guys? So the Patriots win 25-22, 1 sack, 22 points allowed. Again, I get the Patriots defense isn't all that great, but when you are playing up against the Tennessee Titans, you can have the little giants go out there and the defense is going to go ballistic. The Lions defense last week that really hasn't came to form at all this season. They win 52-14. They had 1 sack in that game, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and 14 points allowed. The Titans, offensively, whether it's Mayo Man Will Levis or it's Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, that is an offense that is just laughably bad. Calvin Ridley had a decent game for fantasy, which was very shocking, especially because his first quarter was so good, and Pollard's fine, but without DeAndre Hopkins, with the quarterback play being so below average, like it's just so bad, it's bottom of the NFL level, even a Patriots defense that I don't believe is very good should be able to just tee off here. The Patriots play the Bears next week, and even with the Bears offense being so bad against the Commanders defense, I just don't want to be playing the Patriots defense in that game because I feel like the Bears offense is way better than what we saw on Sunday. Before we move on into the 5th and final defense, as well as the honorable mention defenses of the week, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you'll be able to claim your free pick tonight. Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, higher than half of a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So you match Russell Wilson higher than half a total yard with one of the players on the Giants or any of the players in the NBA are playing next week in the NFL in week number 9. And if both of your picks hit, you'll get 3 times what you put into your pick'em. If multiple of your picks hit, so say you're due instead of 2, you do 3. You need obviously all of them to hit. If they all hit or 4 or 5, then the payout will obviously be higher. You're watching this after Monday Night Football already took place, that if you sign up using promo code Notorious, you receive, it's either going to be an NFL player higher than half of a total yard or an NBA player higher than half of a total point. So make sure you claim your free pick using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description. And you'll also be able to receive your first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So final defense to break down for this week before we get on into the honorable mentions is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. 52% rostered on Yahoo, 34.5% on NFL, and 40.3% on ESPN. The Jaguars are beaten and battered offensively. Christian Kirk down for the count. Brian Thomas Jr. down for the next couple of weeks. This is bad. Bad news, Bears. When Gabe Davis is your number 1 wide receiver, you might as well just throw in the towel. Now, the Jaguars offense has been a little bit better recently, and I'm not going to sit here and sing the praises Junior Soprano style, Justin Tucker style, about how great the Eagles defense is, because I don't believe they are all that great, but they did show up last week up against the Bengals in Cincy. The Eagles defense rostered in 52% of leagues on Yahoo, 34.5% on NFL, and 40.3% on ESPN. The Eagles defense, they had a nice game, right? They win the game 37-17. Jalen Hurts pushed into the end zone what felt like 75 times in that game. The Eagles defense, 1 sack, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 17 points allowed. The Packers defense last week up against the Jaguars, the Packers almost lost that game. Jordan Love gets hurt terrible, 30-27. The Packers win, 1 sack, 1 INT, 1 fumble recovery, and 27 points allowed. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Eagles defense is the greatest defense to grace Earth, but what I will tell you is up against a Jaguars team that is severely injured offensively. This is where the Eagles defense makes their mark, right? Where the Eagles defense pounces on the Jaguars and finishes them off like a lion does to a gazelle. I will be honest with you guys. The first defense, the Saints, 100% confidence level in them. The Commanders versus the Giants, 100% confidence level in them. So they're in a tier of their own, a league of their own, like that movie. And then we got the Texans. They're kind of a tier below because the Jets do have some friskiness in them, right? They have all of the players, so they could realistically turn it up and have a good game, even though I don't think they will. So they're on a tier of their own. So there's the top tier, then there's the Texans tier, and then there's like the Patriots and the Eagles, right? If you're like, oh, I'd rather play the Eagles over the Patriots, I wouldn't judge it too much on that if I'm being honest with you. And then we got the honorable mention defenses for week 9. We got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, everyone's talking about, oh, the Bengals defense is looking real good, right? Oh my God, we need to just suck dry the Bengals defense because they look good up against 2 shitty teams. And then we saw what the Eagles did to them. They dismantled the establishment. But now up against the Raiders, I think that's a good bounce back spot for them. But the Raiders defense, or not the Raiders defense, not very good. The Raiders offense is a little bit feisty. So that does concern me a little bit. And then we got the Titans versus the Patriots. Easy. The Patriots offense could be without Drake May, and Jacoby Brissett just isn't very good. I get they rallied to beat the Jets, and they could easily beat the Titans because the Titans aren't very good at all. But the Titans defense is sneaky good. So the Bengals, the Titans, they're in the same tier as the Eagles and the Patriots defense. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And make sure you guys do check out the sponsor of today's video, Underdog, promo code Notorious, to get Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, the free pick higher than half of a total yard, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Again, if you're new to Underdog and you're watching this video after Monday Night Football already kicked off, your free pick will either be an NBA player higher than half of a total point or a different NFL player higher than half of a total yard. So I love you guys all more than you will ever know. We'll be back later with the waiver wire video, and then back tomorrow with the start sit videos that come out on Tuesday and Wednesday. I love you guys all. I hope you have a great one. Shout out Wayne Gretzky, and as always, good boy.